Okay, everyone, I think we've got most people here who are going to be joining us. So we'll start off now, and then if people join in and catch up, that's fine. So thanks everyone for joining us this morning. It's really nice to see you all. Welcome to our Copilot for 365 workshop. My name's Jeremy Santhouse from NCSIT, and the workshop today will be run by Lewis Graham from Westcoast Cloud. They're one of Microsoft's largest UK distributors, and Lewis is going to talk to you about what Copilot is, how it works, how it does what it does, and then he's going to give you a demo of it working inside the Office apps. So with that, I'll hand you over to Lewis to continue.
Perfect. Thank you for that, Jeremy. Sorry, get your name right. Yeah, so my name's Louis Graham. My role within Westcoast Cloud has already been said is Copilot specialist. So my job is showing partners and customers how they can utilize Copilot within their work. Let me turn my Teams on to Do Not Disturb. Otherwise, that is going to get really annoying. Let's pull it up here, and then let's make sure that no one else pops up. But yeah, so today what we'll go through is what is Copilot? Why do you need it? What is the reason for it? Microsoft have made this big new thing, but why do we need it? What does it actually is it in the background? What's working when we're utilizing these different large language models and these different AIs? And then the big thing is seeing is believing. So within all of the Office applications, so Word, PowerPoint, Excel, Teams, all of those different things give you a little bit of a flavor, so you can take where you think, yes, I can see where I could use it here within the business or here within the business. Now, I've done quite a lot of these webinars and in-person events, and something that comes across is it is very confusing. Everyone's talking about AI, everyone's talking about machine learning, everyone's talking about large language models, but when we think about it, you've got Gemini, which is Google, you've got Meta, so Instagram and Facebook are making their own AI system. It gets ever more confusing, and people come up to me and say, it even seems like my milkman's got his own AI system to tell them deliver milk better on time. But when we think about Microsoft, this isn't a new thing from Microsoft in terms of having a tool available to help us with our punctuation or to help us with our document creation. If you really think back in 1997, bit of a controversial figure, I know, but Microsoft introduced something called Clipper. Clipper was there in Word documents to make sure that we made our articulation better, make sure we got the points across as well as we could. Even today, if you look at your PowerPoint, you have PowerPoint Designer. On your phone, you've got auto predictive text. All of these are different AI or machine learning tools that we are using every day without even knowing about it. This is obviously a new thing in terms of what we're interacting with, but the technology isn't that new. Now, Microsoft being Microsoft, there isn't one Copilot, there is 25 in total. So what I'll be speaking about today is, you know what I've done is I've realized that I've not been sharing my screen. It'd help if I did do that, wouldn't it? So what I'll be talking about today is that Copilot for Microsoft, talking about Copilot for Microsoft 365. So that's within Word, PowerPoint, Excel, Teams, all of those productivity applications. We've got Windows Copilot, which is within PCs. So now if you're on a Windows 11 device, you will have a Windows Copilot icon in the bottom left. Now all Microsoft PCs, all Microsoft Surface devices will actually come with a Windows neural processing unit. What that means is within that computer, there will be an AI where it will be running locally on the machine. Not sure if anyone's used Power Platform, but Power Platform is your ability to use things like Power BI, Power Pages, Power Applications, the ability to automate business processes. Now that can get quite confusing. You've got to learn the coding, you've got to learn how to create an application, you've got to learn the language behind that. We now have an AI where we tell it, I want you to create me a visitor log guest book for when someone comes in the office and they are a visitor. I want you to create this for me. It will go off, and within a minute and a half, it will create you an application. It won't be perfect, but you will have an application that you can go in and edit and hone. We also have something that I'll come on to in a little bit, Copilot in the web. So Copilot in a web version, so we can utilize it in a commercially safe environment. But the reason for this screen is just to show you that there isn't one Copilot, there isn't one product that is Copilot, there is 25 different ones across the full Microsoft ecosystem. Now, why do we need Copilot? What is the reason for it? What is the reason for all of these different AI tools? Now, I'm not gonna expect anyone to have ever read this, but there is something that Microsoft release once a year called the Microsoft Work Trend Index. That is a study across 31 different countries, across 31,000 different people, modern workers. They go out to those modern workers, they study them, they ask them questions, they're trying to find trends within those modern workers. What they found in the one in 2023 was modern workers, something that they term digital debt. What that means is us as modern workers, us the people that use IT in our day-to-day work, have too many data points to process than we have time in our working day. What does that mean? Well, if you think about it, I'm sure that many of you on this call have been in this situation. You come in, start your day, have a meeting at 9, meeting at 10, meeting at 11, meeting at 12. You manage to get for a little half hour lunch at 1 o'clock. You come back, you're then in back-to-back meetings until 4, let's say. All that time, your emails are backing up behind you. Your team's meetings and messages are backing up behind you. You've got work that, again, giving you that digital debt. That's what digital debt is. 64% of people said that they struggled with an overburden of inefficient meetings, inefficient emails, inefficient Teams messages, all blockers to their creativity and productivity. Over half of our time is spent communicating, whether it be in person or in a Teams meeting just like this, which means that leaves only 40% of time available for being more productive and creative. Now, not just that, when we're trying to search for information, whether it be internal or external, we're trying to extract what the expenses policy is or extract a bit of information from somewhere off the internet, we're spending too much time on the tasks that don't really matter. That's all well and good. All these modern workers said, "Oh, we're in this digital debt. We need help." They went out to them and said, "If we could create you an AI tool, if we could create you something that could remove this digital debt, that could take off some of that admin burden off your shoulders, so you can focus time on the tasks that really matter, would you utilize it?" As you can see, the vast majority of people said that they would. Over 70% of people said that they wanted to use an AI tool to lessen their workloads, and they were willing to give it their admin tasks. But we can't discount there's about 50% of people that are worried that an AI will take their job. But what you'll see through my presentation and through the full demonstration that we go through is this is there to work alongside. It's not there to replace. It won't go off and do a job without me telling it to do a job. But if I tell it to summarize my emails, it will summarize my emails. It's not going to give me a summary automatically without me asking for it. It is there to work alongside, not to replace. Now, that's all well and good. Microsoft did a study and it found that modern workers want to use AI tools and they want to start utilizing these different things. But how do you know that people are willing to use AI tools and willing and wanting to use AI? Well, I don't know if anyone on this call has ever used ChatGPT, but ChatGPT was that first large language model, and that was a step forward. That was the thing that made this all go the way that it has. ChatGPT took just 61 days, to reach 100 million users. We've gone from mobile phones taking 16 years, internet taking 7 years, Facebook taking 4.5 years to just 61 days. Now, there is issues with this because ChatGPT is an open AI system. If you're putting your business data in there, if someone within the business is utilizing ChatGPT and putting sensitive information into it, it will and can learn from those documents and spit it out to a competitor. So we've got to have considerations from a business perspective, making sure that we are utilizing the right AI systems. Now, the reason that I mentioned that ChatGPT in being the newest, the first large language model, there was a reason for me mentioning that. Copilot from Microsoft 365 works off a large language model. That's the AI. That is actually ChatGPT. So Microsoft have invested about £13 billion into ChatGPT. So what they've been able to do with that is then take that learnings, all of that 100 million users in 61 days, and then host it within a Microsoft data center. Now, the difference between using Copilot and using ChatGPT is the Microsoft Graph. So if you don't know what the graph is the underlying workings of all of your Microsoft 365 tenant. So we have the nice PowerPoint presentations, the Teams meetings and messages, the SharePoints and whatever it may, and Word documents. The graph is the underlying, the coding underneath that. So we're able to augment the AI with that Microsoft graph data. We don't need to copy and paste information from a document into a chat window within ChatGPT. We've got the integration within the 365 apps. So I can get insights into a document, or I can ask it to create a new document based on an existing document. We can do all of that without having to move from our productivity applications. As I mentioned, not just our internal data, external data as well. Surface that external data and bring it through to me and make it more contextualized with my corporate information. Now, the three key pillars that I will go over today is security, AI at work, and then finally culture shift. Security is always the first thing we like to talk about, or I like to talk about, because in my eyes, this isn't an AI project. It is a security project first off. Security's previously been done in two different areas recently, but there is a third that has been sort of an ugly duckling in the corner. So first off, hopefully everyone on this call is using it, multi-factor authentication, making sure we know who you are, making sure that we can confirm who you are, making sure that your account can't be compromised. We then add device through MDM. So if you're using Intune, or if you've got an Apple device, if you're using Jamf, making sure that we're putting compliance policies. A device can only access my organization's data if it is enrolled onto my tenant. We then have a third one that's been an ugly duckling, like I said, which is data governance. How many of you have maybe moved from on-prem to cloud and you've done a migration and not looked at the data? It's just sat there. You've got things that are 7 years old. You've got things that are out of date. You've got things that are redundant. Maybe you've got a SharePoint page with everyone's got access. This is the things that we need to think about, because AI will surface anything, even if you have given the incorrect permissions to a user. Now, that's what we can control. So we're looking at devices, we're looking at identities, we're looking at data governance. But there's one thing that we need to think about in terms of the way that it's processed. I've already mentioned ChatGPT is an OpenAI model. What that means is anything you put in there can and will be used to train that model, and it will and can spit it out to someone else. There has been a recent example of this where a Samsung engineer was asked to optimize a bit of code. A bit of code had a little issue in there. He thought, right, this is normally a 2-week job. I'll try and use these large language models. I'll try and use this ChatGPT. Put it into ChatGPT. Within a minute and a half, it came through and it optimized that bit of code. He was like, oh, perfect. Tested it, worked straight away. So then he forgot about it. A couple of months later, a competitor then went into ChatGPT and said, right, I've got this issue. Can you help me fix it? The issue was similar to the one that the Samsung engineer had, and it managed to put the two and two together and pull out that bit of information. Now, that bit of code was unique to Samsung. It was unique to that company, but essentially the engineer had put it on a piece of paper, he'd taken a picture, and he put it onto Google. So let's say that you're using that for NDA information. Let's say you're using that for contracts that you're creating. You're using ChatGPT to make them more streamlined. There is the possibility that that could be spat out to a competitor. How do we know with all these AIs, with Microsoft 365 Copilot, with any Copilots within the Microsoft ecosystem, how do you know that that's not going to happen? Well, simply put, corporate data is corporate data. At no point will any prompt, any response, any document that you reference or content that you reference be sent back to Microsoft for processing, sent back to OpenAI to train this large language model, this AI, the Skynet that everyone's scared of. There's no possibility of that. We are a closed AI system. It's not learning. It's not doing those different things in the background, but we're still able to leverage it within our organizations. Now, moving on to the AI at work.
I'm just doing this thing that Darren's doing.
Going on to the AI at work. Now, this is where I'll get into a demo shortly, but I just wanted to set some ground understanding. So when we talk about AI at work, this isn't about replacing people, as I've already said. It's about where within the business would this be most valuable. So who can we put it on to make them even better, and who maybe isn't at the same skill level as other people in the business, and we can obviously bring their level up. I was recently at an in-person event where a customer came up to us. We did this full presentation. We went through the full demo. They was like, "Oh, that's perfect." You're talking about digital debt. You're talking about these tasks that people, are stuck in and they're doing them day in, day out. We have one employee. They're in the admin team. Once we receive an invoice or receive a PO, they go into that PO, they take out a specific set of numbers or something specific within that PO. They then go into a CRM system. They have to input that manually. They then go on to the account manager and say to the account manager, right, this PO has come in, this invoice has come in. Can you process the order? They then copy and paste that email or that attachment to a folder within SharePoint. There's multiple steps in this. Can we get Copilot? Just ask it one question and get it to do all of that work for us. We can't get Copilot to do that because we're automating a business process. As I've already mentioned, Copilot is there to work alongside someone. It's your personal assistant. It's the person alongside you can delegate tasks off to. I'm not saying we can't automate that process. We've got Power Automate within those Power applications where we can say, if I receive an email with this, do this process, and it will do all of those different steps. But that's not what Copilot for Microsoft 365 is there for. And that's what I'm going to show you now. So I've got a demo environment. So let me just pull that up, and then let me just pull up something else. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a few different examples where it can be used. But again, these are examples that I found have worked for me. There are all different ways that different people within an organization, different people with Copilot will utilize it. Now, for those that have used ChatGPT or used a different AI system, this Copilot for Microsoft 365 chat is your chat window. It's your initial input into the AI. So with this, as you can see, we can see that it says suggest common questions that can be asked to get retrospective started with my colleagues. We've also got what emails should be on my radar from last week. Not just our internal information, but external information as well. We can ask it, random general knowledge question if you really wanted to. But I'm sure everyone here has to record their Teams meetings. I'm sure everyone here has a form that they may need to fill out, and they need to extract information in a different format. And that's what I'm going to show you here. So rather than someone sat there within a Teams meeting, they've got a form on the side and they're going, right, yeah, I understand, asking questions and then writing down the answers on the form, and having to copy and paste it over. With this, as long as the team is recorded and transcribed, I can have a form, I can have a transcript, and I can say, right, AI, put these two together and bring me out what I want. Now, this doesn't have to be a form. This could be two separate documents. These could be documents in any type of format that you want, but we're able to point the two together and then get that end result. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in the form. So the form is a social care needs assessment form, if I can spell it right. And then I've got an example transcript. Now, I will show you what is in both of these, so just so you can see. So this is a social care needs assessment form. This is something that I created with Copilot. I said, I need a social care needs assessment form. I want to capture these details. Can you create me one? So it went off, support network, mental health and well-being, goals and outcomes, seemed pretty good. So I saved it. I then went in again and I said, right, can you create me a conversation between these two people, Louis and Harry? I want you to input these bits of information within the conversation, but have it as back and forth. Don't have it as going through the questions as they are. What it decided would be that we are Louis from the social care needs social care place within the council, and we're going to speak to Harry, which is actually Harry Potter. So Harry Potter lives at 4 Privet Drive. He's got a scar, and we're going to take on the role of telling him that he's a wizard. Now, again, it's taken a little bit of its creativity there to do that, but again, you can see conversation back and forth, not listed the questions as they are in the form. We've got just the information in there. So I've got the form, I've got the transcript, I've now got that prompt. So copy each question from the form, retrieve the answer from the transcript and the sections given in the form, and add it to the relevant section in a readable format. Do not deviate from the existing headings or questions. I don't want you to go off and start creating a form that you think would be best. I want you to pull information from here. So again, as you can see there, we've got the personal details coming through. We've got that address. We've got that phone number. We've got the fact that he's living with his aunt and uncle, living in a cupboard under the stairs, wants a place of their own. And then things haven't been mentioned. So, things about physical health and disabilities, we've not gone through that. He's got a scar that hurts and has strange dreams. So not only is it understood the context of the conversation, what's been said within that conversation, it's understood the content that we need from the form. So it's put those 2 and 2 together. Again, if this is a manual task, and this doesn't need to be a conversation, this doesn't need to even be in a Word document. It could be a Teams meeting that you just point it at and go, right, extract this information from this Teams meeting. Again, not a task that can't be done manually, but again, we're streamlining that. We're handing that task off to our personal assistant to be able to do for us. What I will do is I will come back to this 365 chat in a little bit and show you a different way of utilizing it. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the applications one by one. So next off, Outlook. Now, with Outlook, I'm not going to sit here and say it's the not going to sit here and say that everything is amazing in here. I'm going to show you where I use it, but how it can be used as well. So here I have an email thread between a team of in the marketing team of brainstorming ideas for a new office location. Now, this isn't the longest email thread I've seen. I could show you an email in my personal inbox that is double, triple, treble the size of this email, but it's quite a long email going between different team members. So we've got Nesta, we've got Lee, we've got Alex, we've got Megan, we've got Adele, we've got Grader. So we've got all of those team members contributing to this thread. Simply put, I'm going to ask it to summarize. So I can ask it to summarize within the email itself or within that Copilot for Microsoft 365 chat, summarize my emails for the past 24 hours, for instance. But here we've got a high level overview of what's been discussed. So again, we've got those team members, we've got Nesta, we've got Lee, we've got Grader, we've got Adele, we've got Megan, all contributing with those different ideas that they've got for this grand opening of a new office location. Now, I now want to start replying. So these all look well. And I now want to go with the social media campaign. So I've read there that one of our team members has suggested a social media campaign. When I go and hit reply and I go to message, I have this icon on the top here, which is obviously the Copilot icon. I then press that and I've got 2 different options that the actions that I want to take. So here, first off, I'm just going to hit draft with Copilot. We're going to put in this little sandbox, what we want to say. What do we want the AI to generate off the back of this? We've then got different ways that we want it to respond. So direct, neutral, casual, formal, a poem, if you really wanted a poem, short, medium, or long. So simply put, I'm going to put thank the team individually for their ideas and suggest we start with the social campaign. Simply going to hit generate. It's then going to look at the context of the email itself. It's going to look at the content of what's been said and who it's been said by and what ideas have been thrown out. It's going to thank them individually because we asked it to thank them individually, and then it's going to come back and then just we want to start with that social campaign. So here we've got thank you for following this email thread. We're going through each one of the users individually. I actually don't like this one, so I'm just going to hit retry. That one wasn't in the correct format. I don't really like the way that it's structured. I don't need to go in and put the prompt in again. I can literally just hit retry, try again, have another go, and it's going to give me another response. But what we can see there, this one's come out better. So I like that it's got an opening. So we're thanking myself. Obviously, I sent the email over from myself. And then we're going through those individual contributors. Now, as you saw there, it hasn't got to be a one-stop shop. I can actually go back to that original email. Actually, I think it's got the better content. I could go and send this email and amend it. The next, I'm going to go on to this one because I do like it, but I can go in there and ask it to focus in on a particular area. If I really wanted to, I could change the full prompt itself, and actually, if it's not got anything right, rewrite the prompt and then hit generate again. I'm now going to just hit keep it, and we've got that email. So we haven't got a closing, but that's fine. What I'm now going to do is use it where I utilize it the most. The drafting, it is good in certain situations. So let's say you're on the road, let's say you're in between places, let's say you've got to get an email off quickly. You give it a quick bit of context, quick bit of understanding, quick couple of words, and then boom, it'll create you a pretty good email that you can send off. Where I use it is coaching. So when I send an email, I always want to make sure that I've got the correct tone. I'm using the correct names of things. I'm not being too direct. This is that person. So rather than me taking time out of someone else's day, rather than me using Grammarly, rather than me copy and pasting into a different application, within the email itself, I can ask it to tell me where I'm going wrong, tell me where I should be focusing my time, tell me where I might need to amend my wording. Usually when I do this with the Copilot, with an email that's been created with Copilot, it will say it's perfect. So I'll have a look what it says here. So again, we've showed appreciative and encouraging by expressing gratitude to each of the individual contributors, which is good for morale. It recognises team's effort, which is the team's effort, which is good. But we have outlined the next steps, but could be more specific and help understanding what the exact actions are required moving forward. So again, this isn't got a button that can tell me, right, implement these changes, amend all of this email and put these changes in where you think they are. It is up to me whether I think that this is relevant. So I could say, actually, they've just asked me for my ideas. They've not asked me to give them an action plan. That is then down to them to do the action plan. I've just come up with the end result that we want to do. Now, we would then amend the email. We'd add those bits in if we wanted to add them in, remove bits that we didn't want in there. Hit regenerate, and then it would generate us a new little generate us a new culture with Copilot box where all of the new advisories will be down to that new email. Again, this is where I utilize it the most. A lot of the time, it's maybe I'm being too direct, or sometimes I'm using too many words. So it's in between those two, and actually I'm using too many abbreviations. So if someone's reading an email, they won't actually know what I'm talking about. With this, we're able to again get that final person to just give us the all clear that we are okay to go. I'm going to come out of this and I'm going to use it in a slightly different way. So when we was using emails, then we was on an existing email thread. When I was drafting, I couldn't really loop in a document. I couldn't loop in an existing document. That's then when we go back to this Copilot for Microsoft 365 chat. Let's say you wanted to send a summary of a sales document or a summary of a request for a proposal to an internal team. We can't loop in that document or create me an email from this. We would do this from the 365 chat and then just copy it over. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say using the customer complaints handling template, we're going to respond to the complaint, which is in an email. So again, we can loop all of these documents in. And that's why I said the data governance is so important. For me to find a document, it's just /. I can find any document that's within my tenant. I can find any meeting, any email. Like I said, anything within my tenant that I have access to as a user, I can go and find it within a couple of seconds. I'm going to hit enter. Within the customer complaints handling template, just so you can see, there is a structure of how we want the email to come out. So we want to show acknowledgement, we want to show an apology, we want to show an action, and we also want to show appreciation. We then got an example of how we want the email to be structured, and we want to offer a discount to this person. We've now got that response to that email. So the complaint was regarding a faulty toaster. So again, we've offered that 20% discount. We've showed an apology. We've showed an appreciation. It's gone through, understood the context of what we wanted to use, and then created that email off the back of it. Now, the reason for this, for those of you that are using something like ChatGPT, I've already mentioned it's a closed AI model. So I can't teach it that this is the way that we want to respond as a company, because otherwise that would be learning, and it would be learning it, and there is the possibility then of that cross-contamination of data and someone else being able to access your information. If we have a way that we want to respond as a company and we have a strict guidelines, this is the way that we would do it. We would say, right, using this template, using this as your reference, respond to this or generate something off the back of this. Now, again, moving on to Teams, what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to show you, let me pull up this one and actually show you my Teams, because I've got a few Teams meetings that I've done previously. So here, there is a different way. So things are obviously always evolving. Some of you may have heard of Teams Premium. With Teams Premium, providing that the meeting is recorded and transcribed, we get something called intelligent recap. What that means is we can see the speakers, we can see how many times I've been mentioned personally, and we can actually see the tasks. That is now included with Microsoft 365 Copilot. So as long as that transcript is on, you get this quick summary of who's said what, when they said it, and then it'll give you possible follow-up tasks. As well as that, it will give you AI notes. And if you record it, fully record it, not just transcribe, it will show you who's spoken when and who has spoken for the longest time. Usually in my meetings, it's 99% me and then 1% someone else doing an opening and close. But here we have that recap. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come into a meeting that I had with one of my colleagues around a 4-day working week. Again, because this was before the previous one, so it was about a month before, we haven't got that update in there where we can see who spoke and what the mentions were and all of those different things. During a meeting or after a meeting, the usage of this is exactly the same. When you're in a meeting, you'll just have a Copilot icon here, which you can open and then start asking questions. But let's say following a meeting, let's say, back-to-back meetings from 9 till 12:30. We then had lunch, then come back. We need to start sending our follow-up, start sending our action items off the back of those meetings. Here, I hit Copilot. I go into recap into that meeting. I hit Copilot, and then I get all previous prompts, but I'll start using different prompts just so you can see what it looks like. So I'm going to ask it simply what was discussed in the meeting. Again, I forgot, maybe it's a follow-up meeting. I need to understand what was discussed, what are the key points, what do I need to know? It's going to look over the transcript. It's going to look over what's been said by who, what the context of that conversation was, and then give us a quick little summary of what was discussed within that meeting. Now, give it a second. It's going, for some reason, it's decided to be on a go slow at the moment. But it will give us that, and it will also give us connotations. So you can see in this previous prompt that it's give us connotations of what word that particular thing has been said. There we are, got there in the end. But again, so we've got that meeting summary. So the meeting was about a proposal of a 4-day working week. The main points discussed were this. There's different ways of implementing, and there was an idea proposal 4-day working week to the manager and doing a pilot. Now, this is between one of my colleagues. I now want to know what are the pros and cons. What did the other person pick up that I might need to think about? Now, I'm now going to ask it to put it in a table as well. So not just bring out those things in a list, bring it out in a table so it's easy for me to read, easier for me to consume. This is obviously this was a one-to-one meeting, but let's say you're in a larger meeting. There's 15 people in there. There's different action items that have been picked up. You actually want all of the attendees, all of their job roles, any items that they have to take away, any action items on them, and actually a due date on those action items. You want it in a table. I don't need to go off and go back to my notebook and say, right, yeah, Louis picked up this, Jeremy picked up this, Rio picked up this. It's all done all for me in the back end. As long as that transcript is on, I'm able to be present within that meeting, understand what's being said, understand if there's any action items that I've got to pick up, or any queries that have come up that I need to field at the time. I'm able to do that at the time. So here again, we've got the pros and cons. We've got where it's been said and who it's been said by. I'm now going to get it to give me the action items. So I want to list the action items. Just list the action items and who they are against. Again, it will understand if I've said, right, I'll take this on board, or Harry said, I'll take this on board. It'll understand who said it, and then it will understand what that task is, and it will assign that to those users. So again, the way that I use this more often than not is following a meeting. Can you create me a summary of action items, a summary of the email, summary of the meeting in an email, and action items that I can then send off to the individual contributors in this Teams meeting, and it will do all of that in the background for me without me having to go in and remember and try and understand. That could be 3, 4, 5 hours later. I have to go back to my notebook. The AI, the Copilot, my little person in the background is working all the time. So again, we've got the action items, and then we've got who they are actually on. Going back to the 365 application. So we're now on to Word. Now, Word is a bit of a weird one because you've got different users of Word, and there's different use cases within a business. Some people might need to create activities. So let's say you're in marketing, you need to create new activities for marketing ideas for next quarter, or maybe coming up with a new product, you need to find that new names for that product, whatever it may be. Not everyone needs to do that. Not everyone needs to create something new. Someone in HR, for instance, they will already have job roles, but they'll actually then have to start vetting candidates against those job roles. Make sure who's the best candidate, who should I be focusing my time on. Even some users might not even need to create any Word documents at all. So there's different ways that we can interact with it. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a new document, but I'm going to create it from the persona of someone in HR. So here, once I've hit that little Copilot icon, so there's two here, so just so you can see that again, I've got a Copilot icon at the top, and I've got a Copilot icon here. Once I hit that, I'm then able to put in a prompt. I'm able to put in what I want the output to be. Again, I'm in HR. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a gap analysis between two candidates. So again, to loop in a document, to loop in the CVs, I'm literally going to type that / and then start typing the names. So we've got one person, which is Laura, and then we've got one person, which is Sarah. And then I'm going to compare that against a job description. So Sarah, and then we've got the cyber security sales specialist. I'm going to ask it to organize that comparison in a table, rating each of the skills listed versus the job description. And I want to know why it's giving it that number, why it's giving it that slide in that rating. Provide a recommendation of the most suitable candidate, and then suggest 3 follow-up questions that I can ask the candidate. I can go out and ask this person. Within a couple of seconds, as you've seen, we've started getting that response back. Now, what it's going to do is it's going to give us that sliding scale from 1 to 5, looking at those different, the different qualifications that are contributing to that. It seems to be on a little bit of a go slow at the moment. It would let it kick up, catch up with itself. No, that's not what I want. So I'm going to say stop generating. I'm going to hit regenerate. Doesn't look right. So it's then going to start generating me that comparison again. We will wait to see. That looks more like it. So we've got the skill, we've got the user, we've got the and then we've got that sliding scale. So cybersecurity knowledge and awareness, Laura is a 5 out of 5 because she's got a degree in computer science and a certificate in cybersecurity sales. Whereas Sarah has a strong interest in IT hardware, but she hasn't got exposure to cybersecurity as much as Laura has. Again, this isn't taking away a job that I have to do per se. I will still have to do this job. I'll still have to look at the 2 candidates, make sure that the AI is getting the correct outcome, but we've been able to streamline that. We've been able to hand that task off, give me the high level differences. This could be 2 statement of works. We've got 2 statement of works here. We need to understand what the differences are. We've got 2 policies. Legally going through 2 policies, or we're onboarding someone new. We're looking at a new product. I need to understand what the differences is. Can you pull that comparison out into a table for me? I want you to highlight any of the areas where it might be of concern. So here we've got that comparison. We've got the recommendation. Obviously, looking at the comparison, Laura's got pretty much 5 out of 5 and everything. So by no stretch of the imagination, Laura is the best candidate for this role. We then got interview questions that we can ask, and then the reason why we're asking those interview questions. As you saw earlier, I can go back to that previous one, which was obviously wasn't what we wanted. It come out with one thing. It doesn't work. It might not work the first time. The 99% of the time it will. Sometimes it will get caught up when it's doing the processing in the background. You just got to hit regenerate. You just got to hit that, and like I said, within a minute and a half was it in total, we've got that comparison that we want. Now again, I could come up here, and if this was a 15-page document and it's very intense and we need to find out who a particular customer is or a particular detail, I can ask it to summarize the document. I can ask it if there's a call to action. I can ask it to find as a search something within that document rather than me having to go and find it. So again, different ways of interacting with the AI within that in particular. Now, moving on to Excel, and I'm sure everyone here uses Excel. I'm sure there will be some people in here that we call a power user, and I'm sure there's probably people in here like myself that are a power avoider. Now, you might never have heard those terms before. So what do I actually mean? Well, a power user is someone that knows how to create pivot tables. They know how to create VLOOKUPs and XLOOKUPs without having to go back and Google and ask the expert within the business how to do it. They know how to create charts of the back of pivot tables. They might know how to use coding and forecasting language to be able to forecast into the future. Currently, when I open Copilot, what you will see is it is in preview. What that means is those advanced features, that coding element isn't there at the moment, but we can still help with those power avoiders and those power users on doing those VLOOKUPs and XLOOKUPs and looking in between the sheets. But it is going towards those people that aren't too well versed in Excel. So here I've got some sales data. So, if we think about the different examples that I've done, so we've done that one at first when we're pulling through information. That could be someone in a sales team, that could be someone in a customer service. Actually, the initial example came from someone in law. They had to transcribe all of their meetings. They wanted to then put it into a different format. And that's how we came up with that example. But here we're now looking at someone in finance. So someone that's analyzing data now. My data is only 25 lines long because I had to sit there and try and create it. And I've got AI and I was copying and pasting. There isn't the ability for me to go, right, create me 2,000 lines of random information that I can then utilize. This is the best way of me doing it. But it's important to note it can work on up to 2 million individual cells. So as long as your table is in 2 million cells, it will be able to analyze that data and start interrogating that data. But what I've got here, I've got sales data, I've got quarter totals, I've got account manager totals, and then I've got a contact sheet. I'm going to go and do a couple of things on each one. So first off, I've got these quarter totals. I've got Q1, I've got Q2. What I actually haven't got is, obviously I can see this is an area of concern because we've gone down by 130,000. We've gone up here by 18,000. We've gone down here by 75,000. So there are areas of concern here that I need to look at, but I haven't actually got that percentage margin change. What is the percentage change between these two numbers? Simply put, I'm just going to ask the AI to find that formula for me. Now, I've done this example quite a lot. So now I do know what it's going to do. It's going to take the Q2 total minus the Q1 total divided by the Q2 total. That will give me a percentage margin change. I only know that because I've done this example. Without me doing this example, I would have had to go off. I'd have to go off to Google. I have to find out, what is the formula that I need to utilize. The AI can understand in my language what I want the end result to be, and then put that together with the correct formula. Not just that. So you can see here it's done the formula, but it's telling me why it's done the formula. What is the reason for it recommending this or saying to put this in? I can then hit insert. And then we've got that percentage margin change. So, we've got some increases, we've got some decreases. It's not very visually impactful for me though, although I can see these numbers, it's getting a bit blurred, and especially if this was more than 25 lines, let's say it was 100 lines, it'll be hard to see where those areas of concern are that we need to maybe focus our time, or maybe on the other side, where are the areas where we're doing well and we need to focus in on more. So I'm now going to get it to do conditional formatting. Now, I'm sure everyone knows what conditional formatting is, but we don't know how to implement it. And when we do try and implement it, something will go wrong. So there'll be some parameter somewhere where everything goes red, or everything goes green, or everything goes orange, even though we didn't ask it to go orange. What I've just done there is I've got it to do conditional formatting without me having to learn the intricate details on how that works. Now, because this is a conditional format, and because this could be live data, at any point, if the data updates, so let's say this number, currently at 6%, let's say this number increased to 70,000. Not only is the percentage margin updated, but the conditional format is updated as well. Because it is live formulas, it's not static data. So it's live formulas, so if you've got live data, it will automatically update. So looking at this, there's quite a lot of red, unfortunately, but there is a couple of green, and the one that's caught my eye is this PI Inc, an increase of 1,000%. So I now want to go out, I want to understand why in Q1 do we only have, just under £4,000, but then in Q2 it was nearly 46,000. What was the reason for this? I'm now going to go and analyze this sales data. So within this sales data, we've got that 6-month spend, January to June spend. We've got the company name, we've got the contact and a contact number. What I'm now going to do is I'm going to ask it to insert a column after the location and insert the account manager associated to the company name. Again, it's very specific. What I'm getting it to do is an X lookup. And like I said, when I try and do an X lookup, it will go wrong at some point. One of the parameters will be wrong. I don't know what it will be. I'll have to then go and take time out of someone else's day to make, get them to help me implement this and get that VLOOKUP working correct. As you just saw there, I asked the question, I put the column in quicker time than it would take me to go to someone and try and find that answer. So again, we've now got these accounts, we've now got PI Inc. We can see that we just open up June. We was an increase in May. What was going on here? Right, I can go and have a look at and see what was asked out. Lucille, what was going on? What was the reason for the increases, or anything that we should know as a business? And what actually happened in this month? Can we replicate it with another customer? So we've analysed the data, we've done that VLOOKUP. Now let's say later on down the line, we actually want to see who our best account manager is. Who is the person that's bringing in the most money within our business, within our 4 account managers. So far, what I've done is a 1-to-1 ratio. So I've taken one sheet, I've asked it to put in one column here, put in one column here. What I'm now going to get it to do is do 6. So this is a process of elimination. I asked it to do 1 and it did 1. I asked it to do 3 and it did 1. I asked it to do 4 and did 1. I then came back the next day, asked it to do 4 again and it did 4. I asked it to do 5 and it did 5. Seems like it's only wants to do 5 at the moment. But what I'm able to do is I'm able to hit that button. We've got all of the different formulas, insert columns, and then it's going to show me those different columns in there. Again, this is a VLOOKUP, so actually it's a sum if, so it's looking at if the person is Laura and the month is May, input and put the sum of those numbers. Again, if we know how to do this formula, you might be able to do it quickly, but personally, I wouldn't know where to start with that. And that's the big thing. We're able to elevate the people that maybe don't have the skills. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a visualization. So I'm going to ask it to show me data insights. I could be very specific with this. I could ask it to create me a chart, create me a scatter graph showing all the account managers and their account spend across the 5 months that we've got here, and it will create me a scatter graph. What I've done there is I've just asked it, look at this bit of data and tell me where you should be focusing my time, whether it's 20,000 lines, whether it's 2 million lines. Tell me where I should be focusing my time. So here, the first one that it's picked up is the Feb spend by account manager. So Logan, as we can see, has got the best Feb spend across his accounts. I can actually ask it to see another insight. So, show me somewhere else where you should think I should be focusing my time, or add all insights to a grid. Once I press that, we get a new sheet and we get all the different insights that it's picked up. So Feb spend by account manager, Logan has higher spend in Jan, Sarah have higher spend in March, it's almost the same. And then we've got a line graph of Jan spend by Feb spend. So again, it's just picked up. I can be specific on these. I can say, right, this is what I want the output to be. In this example, I've just been rather broad, rather than being specific. So next up, I'm going to go to PowerPoint just before we leave the demonstration side. For me, when I create PowerPoint presentations, what often happens is I'll send it to our marketing team, and the marketing team will go, right, you've used the wrong branding, you've used the wrong colors, you've used the wrong whatever it is. What I'm going to be able to do here is create me a presentation from an existing file. So again, to loop it in, I'm literally just going to put that slash and then put marketing plan demo. I'm simply going to hit send. So create me a presentation from this file. Because what I've got here is master slides, I've got different ways I want the content to be laid out. It is going to understand that document, understand what's within that document. It's then going to give me what it's going to output. So marketing plan, executive summary, situation analysis, objective, strategy, and then it's going to go through all of the different areas. It's then going to look at that and then start generating me a presentation. And I'm not saying it's going to be an exact presentation that you can present to someone straight off. It will be a first version. It will be that version that you can go in and edit and hold and make your own. What we've been able to do is streamline that process of creativity. Right, I don't know where to start. I don't know how to start it. handing that task off to the AI, to Copilot. Not just that, it will give you speaker notes. So it will give you things, not just what to present, but what you should be saying when you're presenting that particular document or that particular presentation. So we'll get there in the end, but here, once you see it load up, what we will go from is a click to add title slide with no content within there at all, to a presentation that is 26 slides of all the content that we have pointed it at. So that was a marketing plan. So it's understood that the budget is 15,000 allocated to the different areas. It's picked up some random pictures. So I didn't put these pictures in that original document. It's gone off and done this itself. Gone through. Again, we had a budget. So it says a budget is best visualized, the best seen within a table format rather than in Word format. And then it's understood that that's my picture, and then put that picture at the end. So again, it's not perfect. I might want to come in here and remove some of the pictures, amend things slightly, but we've gone from nothing to something in, like I said, a minute and a half. Again, we can edit and hone it and spend another 20 minutes editing it. But if we was creating a presentation from scratch, you're sure that it's going to take you longer than 22 minutes, let's say, to create that presentation and get it ready to go. Now, that is it from the demo side. We've got a few more slides, and then we are done and then we can ask anyone's got any questions. We can go off from there. So I've shown you different examples, different areas where it can be used, but you might not use it that way. And I don't use it all in that way because I don't have to create forms or whatever it may be. Microsoft actually have an example booklet of I think it's 25, 30 different people within a business and different ways AI can be augmented into their day-to-day lives. This is where I use it. So that first area where we saw the Copilot, where I was taking that form, I actually use it as a personal assistant. So tell me what meetings I have, tell me what emails I've received in the past 24 hours, organize my day. Are there any documents that I need to understand, or any documents I need for an upcoming presentation? It will give me all, again, personal assistant. What do I need to know to start my day? Coaching with Copilot, I've already shown you that. And then the Teams element. Every Teams meeting I have is always recorded and transcribed, so I can send those follow-ups a lot quicker. I can make sure that I'm on task and make sure that all of the action items are followed up with whoever needs to follow them up. Again, and like I said, the unsung hero in that is the ability to just sit back, to be able to have the AI there, and be able to focus in on that meeting. Now, moving on to getting started, one thing that I didn't show was the Microsoft, let me just pull this up, was the Microsoft Copilot within Bing. So if you currently got a basic business premium, Microsoft E3, Microsoft E5, Office license, whatever it is, you'll actually have this when you go into Bing, actually have the Copilot icon there. This is Copilot in the web. When we saw him right at the start, that was one in the top left. Here we have commercial data protection. So you can use AI, you can use a large language model in a commercially safe environment. There's no possibility, again, of that data being leaked outside of your organization. You can come in here, you can see obviously different ways you want it to respond. If you're actually in a Word document or in a PDF, you have this little icon at the top where you can ask it questions about the website, you can ask it questions about that web page. It can't create you anything, it can't create you a document, but it can give you an insight. You also got Compose, so if you want to, I use it a lot for LinkedIn, I'm not going to lie to you, because LinkedIn, it's got to be all marketing, it's got to be all jazzy. That's not the way that I write my my LinkedIn post. I'll create a LinkedIn post, put it into the AI, say, right, make this more marketing for me, add a little bit more jazz, and it will do all of those tasks for me without me having to do it. Second one, obviously get Copilot ready and understand, the licensing, understand, what goals it is you want to achieve. And then it goes into that data governance. So file permissions, understanding who's got access to what and how they're accessing it, understanding personal information protection, sensitivity labels, and then data loss prevention, stop things leaking outside the organization. Now, we're going to come to questions in a little while, shortly in the next slide. So if anyone's got any questions, obviously, get them ready to go. But I'd just like to show this one right at the end. So there was a recent study, WorkTrend Index again, where they went out to users that have got Copilot and asked them questions about, their day-to-day work. So out of everyone that had it, I think the full survey was, again, it's very limited because there's the amount of users that they was able to get to was limited. But I think it was about 2,500 users. 70% of those users said that they was more productive. They was able to catch up on work outside of Teams meetings 4 times faster than those without Copilot. And when you look at a return on investment, because that's what everyone wants to know, what am I going to get out of it as a business? What is the benefit to me as a business? The benefit to you is people aren't in their emails, people aren't in those mundane tasks. What are they are then able to do with that is be productive and creative. So push that business forward. What does that look like in a tangible number? About half an hour a day, 2.5 hours a week, 10 hours a month was the original findings. Again, this was back in February, March time. So the more and more you use it, the more and more you understand where it can be used. Obviously, those time savings will be increased, and the more the capabilities of it will increase. That's not half an hour where you're going and getting a coffee, you're going speaking to Sandra in accounts because you can't bother to work. It will be time that will be reinvested into the company and reinvested into, again, being productive and creative. Now, thank you all for listening for me for almost an hour. We're almost at that hour mark. Did we have any questions that have come through? Has anyone got anything? Which
we've got one, Lewis.
Yeah, I've just seen that. Which business subscriptions does Copilot work with? Are we on about Copilot for M365? Or
yeah, I think that's what was referred to. Yeah.
So Microsoft being Microsoft, they've recently released it to any license. So you could essentially have an Exchange Online plan and you could get Copilot. As I've tried to emphasize throughout this, the issue is then your data governance. Where is your data? Because as you saw there, I can surface information. There's a real world example where a user was given, not in my organization, within a partner's organization, they was given Copilot. They said, right, go and break it to an engineer, go and find information that you shouldn't be able to access. It took him about 2.5 minutes to surface one-to-one information that was confidential between his manager and one of his colleagues, because they hadn't put that correct data governance in place. So when you look at, what's the minimum license, what does it work with? There is, every license, but what do you recommend is a business premium, because you've got the correct controls and the ability to put controls on the data, which is the important part. It's not an AI project, it is a data governance project, and then it's learning about AI.
Okay. Any more questions? Anyone, you can put them in the chat or the Q&A and we'll spot them from there. There's a couple more just come into the Q&A, Lewis, if you want to have a quick look at those. Can you have Copilot with Outlook on the free plan?
So on the free plan, I'm not too sure what that means, because none of them are. Do you mean like a personal plan? And then, so I'll come back to that one, Pia. So outside Teams meetings, can Copilot record face-to-face meetings? We have transcribed meetings into minutes and action points. So you would need the meeting to be recorded and transcribed. What is coming into effect is the ability to understand different voices. So at the moment, if you're in a meeting room and you go into meeting room 1, it will say meeting room 1 has said this, meeting room 1 has said that. Within the roadmap, within the next 2 months, if you say at the start of the meeting, hello, I'm Louis, my role is this, the other person says, hello, I'm this person, my role is this. Every time you speak, every time you pick up an action point, it will put the 2 and 2 together. It will understand your voice and put your voice against those action items. So currently, no. In the future, yes.
Okay. I think we've got one more license related one there.
Yeah, can it only work with the subscription version of the Office application rather? No, so it has to be the click to run version. You have to be on click to run on the update channel, has to be semi-enterprise. So essentially the most up-to-date version of the Office versions, yes.
Okay.
And one thing that I obviously should know is that demo was all in the online apps. The reason for that is, again, it's a demo environment. I could show you my emails, but honestly, you'd be horrified. And I could show you all of my team. I did show you some of my team's messages, but yeah, they're all going out of the door because I've been in back-to-back meetings. So yeah, that's why it's in the online applications. Desktop works exactly the same.
One final one there from Wilma just come in.
So currently, in education settings, there is only the option to buy it for over 18s. So it depends what age your students are. You are able to, obviously, anyone under 18, technically speaking, within the product terms, can't have Copilot. For teachers and students over 18, yes. On the web version, you can turn it off as an organization. So you can turn it on and off. So yeah, there is the controls in there to be able to turn it off for particular people.
Do you want to answer that one about Windows 11 that's just come in as
Yeah.
well while we're here?
Copilot is already live in our org, and people could be using it in our Windows 11 customer. So no, so the one that is linked to your organization. So if I go back to the original slide, so the only one that is linked to your organizational data is that Copilot for Microsoft 365, which is the one that I went through then. The Windows Copilot is, everyone remembers Cortana. That is just Cortana with AI in the background. So anything that you could do with Cortana, you now do with Windows Copilot. It can't see your organizational info. It will be on there already. People might be using it to surface documents, let's say, but they can't. It doesn't work the same way. It can't search your organizational information.
Okay. I'm going to say thank you at that point, Lewis. Really appreciate you coming on here this morning to talk to us, show us through Copilot and seeing it working live. I really like that gap analysis in Word. I thought that was a really interesting example, in fact, as well. I want to thank everybody else also for coming on here this morning, for investing an hour of your time into learning more about this. And if you want some more information about this, or you want to talk about Copilot with us, please speak to your NCS account manager, whether that's Carl, John, Rob, Victoria, or myself. Thank you again, Lewis. Really appreciate the input, and thank you everybody for joining us. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.